All right, at this point, it may be, you may be thinking, these videos are way too long. I'm never watching another video again. Well, if you thought that, you probably wouldn't be here. But anyway, this video is going to be short. We're going to talk about one-to-one functions. So the big thing when we talked about functions, right? For functions, every x, every input can only go to one place. But the converse is not true, right? One of the functions that we talked about was a parabola. This parabola, this passes the vertical line test. It is a function. For every input, there is only one output. Vertical line only crosses the graph once, right? But the other way is not true, right? If we looked at a horizontal line, there are outputs that have multiple inputs. We also saw this in the previous video when we looked at this function, right? There are a bunch of outputs that have multiple inputs that solve it. If I say y equals 1, well, x can be either -6 or 0, okay? So it's still a function, but something like this is not called one-to-one. There's not a one-to-one correspondence between inputs and outputs. This function reuses output, okay? And this also will come into play later in this chapter, which is why we're kind of going over it very briefly right now, okay? So a function is one-to-one, often abbreviated one-to-one like that, if there is only one input for each output. So it's sort of the other direction, the other way of the function definition. All right. And the way we test for that, test for one-to-one, using the horizontal line test. All right. So for example, this parabola fails a horizontal line test pretty much everywhere. Pretty much everywhere I put my pen, it crosses that graph more than one time. Okay, so look at example 5-ish, sort of. My numbering system is not perfect. Are these one-to-one? And again, there's that abbreviation for one-to-one. Part A. A different parabola. You might say, well, Jason, this is just like the other parabola. It's not one-to-one. Horizontal line test. Look how much it fails. Definitely fails a horizontal line test, not one-to-one. It is a function, right? It passes the vertical line test. It is a function, just not a one-to-one function. This over here is a cubic function. And we say, okay, is this one-to-one? Let's use a horizontal line test. It gets pretty close to flat, but it's still only crossing once everywhere. You'd say, yes, this is a one-to-one function. Part C, we could look at a circle. And the thing about a circle is, this is not even a function to begin with. This can't be a one-to-one function. This is not even a function. It fails the vertical line test, let alone the horizontal line test. This just fails in every single way that it's possible to fail. So no, not one-to-one. And finally, we could look at something real bizarre looking. Let's say we've got some points like this. And then maybe it kind of goes up and it kind of goes down. Later on, not in this class, but later on, you may take a class where you talk about continuity. This is not a continuous function. There are gaps. But we can still use the horizontal line test, even though it looks weird. Only crossing once, not crossing anywhere. Only crossing once, not crossing anywhere, etc. Only crossing once, only crossing once. Okay? So this is indeed one-to-one, a one-to-one function. It's a wacky looking function, but it is one-to-one. All right, and that's video 3.